Hi, Hunter Hastings here. Seven-figure founders and 10-figure founders are very different. The people who found million-dollar businesses are a different breed from the ones that found billion-dollar businesses. What separates them? Well, it's not luck, and it's not timing, and it's not even funding. It's how they think. It's philosophy. And today's guest is a person who has shaped the thinking, shaped the philosophy of many of these billion-dollar leaders. We don't necessarily hear about them, they're not in the headlines, but they're building great businesses that have great influence in the world. Our guest is not a White House advisor or a Georgetown professor. He's a quiet shaper of business people's thinking. He's the one who invites them into the room and develops the discussions that shape the thinking of these billion-dollar leaders. Here's Doug Crowe. It's his philosophy and his belief that business isn't merely about profit and growth, it's about purpose and legacy and the human condition. So he's going to help us unpack what the leaders of these 9 and 10-figure businesses do differently. Not strategy, but thinking. Visionary cultures, leading with humanity, turning storytelling into a superpower that attracts talent, attracts clients, and attracts capital. And near the end, Doug's going to share a story with us that'll completely reframe what personal branding means for those founders who want to become billion-dollar founders. What really matters at those levels? By the end of the episode, then, you'll understand why leaders at the highest level turn to Doug when they need clarity, direction, and truth. This is the kind of insight that you won't find in business school or on your LinkedIn feed. It's not about hustle tactics or the latest funnel strategy. It's about vision and how to think like a true founder who builds for decades. Let's talk to Doug Crowe.
This is the Value Creators Podcast, your source for a new kind of business education. Escaping from business administration mode and entering dynamic entrepreneurship mode. We're guided by entrepreneurial economics, which is the source of all growth and positive change for businesses of all sizes in all markets. We talk to experienced experts in value creation so that there's business learning for you in every episode.
Doug, welcome to the Value Creators Podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We're going to focus on something today that you're an expert in. Mm-hmm. It's what you and I decided to call 9 and 10-figure businesses. Mm-hmm. There's not really a term for them because they're not in SME, right? Small and medium enterprises, and they're not in the Fortune 500 necessarily.
Right.
They're somewhere in between.
Mm-hmm.
But they're kind of a backbone of the economy. They account for a lot of revenue and profits and job creation and so on. You're a strategist for them. You help them grow. So that's how we're going to focus today.
Sure.
So let's see if we can characterize them in some way. We've talked about their size, but can you look at all the businesses that you've been involved in and somehow characterize them, especially from a success standpoint?
Sure. In the 9, 10-figure world, they're no longer founder-led necessarily or founder sales-led. They've got a machine that is doing something where, hey, they're really, the word scaling is used a lot by SMBs and it's not true. They're really growing. So at your level, hey, now these are scaling. They're saying, hey, can we break into Europe? Can we roll out a new product? Can we acquire a company? They're doing things, they're playing a real monopoly board as opposed to just trying to make some money. And that's the biggest difference I've seen is that these are beyond enterprise builders. They're changing the culture or the ecosystem of their industry. And that's probably one of the reasons people who say, I've hit 50 million, I'm good. All of a sudden they go, wait a minute, I just saw my buddy, go public. What can I do? How can I go ahead and go one more level up? So there's always some brass ring you're aiming for, but most of those people, it's not about the money at that point because they've done well. It's about impact, I think.
Are they typically privately owned, Doug, or are we talking a mix of private and public?
I'm surprised how many are. I would think that a lot of them are public, but once they go public, there's, shareholders, and they go from stakeholders to shareholders, and the dynamic sometimes changes a little bit. When they're privately held, that guy or gal has got a lot of autonomy. They certainly have a board at that point, but they're not beholden to them necessarily. They'll take the advice, but we're going to go ahead and just keep doing this or pivot or something. So it's interesting to me to work with people like that, because it's still a one-on-one relationship that we're building and talking and doing things on the personal brand side. But they don't have to answer to shareholders or have to go through rigorous legal compliance or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk about some of the traits that you've observed that makes them successful?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with Herman Simon and his Hidden Champions database, and he tried to characterize those businesses in Germany as very close to the customer, very innovative, highly focused. What do you think about the traits of the businesses that you see?
There's one trait that I've seen over and over and over again, and it's vision. It's being a visionary, of seeing what's possible, not what's in front of them, but what they see. They see the future clearer than anybody else. I've in my own world, I've got some guys in my client base who've, like one of them, he invented a little piece of software you've heard about. It's called GPS, right? Mm-hmm. My client invented that. It changed the world. He had the vision for what it could do as a weapon system, and people obviously used it for finding a dog sitter, right? So there's things that people at that level have that most people don't. They're focusing on, what am I going to do tomorrow? What am I going to do this year, this quarter? A visionary thinks about what's going to happen to them after they're gone. What impact are they making? And it's not just altruistic. It's they have the power to do it, and the good ones are responsible, of course.
Are people born with that capability, or do they develop it? Can you train it?
Ask God that one. I don't know. I don't know an answer to that, whether it's born or learned. I think probably a little bit of both. It's probably easier if you're born with that big vision. Leonardo da Vinci, I can see, or Tesla, I can see things you can't see. But I do believe, after talking to so many people in my career, that some people get it. They can see, I can see getting to an 8-figure company, cool. But they can never imagine it going bigger than that. And because they can't imagine it, it never does. But if they around people like that, who's like, wow, you mean I could take that? Like one of my clients helps companies go public. And my viewpoint before meeting Peter was, well, you've got to have, a 9-figure company before you go public. No, not so true. He's taken some 8-figure companies and done an IPO with them. So I think the self-imposed restrictions a lot of founders and business people have can be removed by exposure to that next level of vision and entrepreneurship, I guess. Yeah.
And how do they articulate that vision, Doug? I mean, does it have details in it? Is it pretty broad? Do they draw pictures of it? How do they see
the best ones? The best ones don't teach it or talk about it; they just do it.
Yeah.
When I was talking about some value propositions and taglines and trying to get a person's USP redefined for them, and most people fall in the trap of what they do, not why they do it. And so the good ones, here's why I do it. But the best ones I've heard are the ones that are super short. I'll use Elon Musk as an example because everyone knows him. But, I build rockets and batteries and cars. Okay, cool. But when he said the word, 2 words, right? 2 words that visually speaking could fill up a library. He said, occupy Mars. Mm-hmm. Notice he didn't say go to Mars, visit Mars, travel there, occupy Mars. That kind of vision, probably maybe after he's gone, right? It might take a while to do that, but that kind of vision galvanizes a lot of people. That's why Kennedy said, before this decade's out, we'll put a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth. That vision galvanized and energized an entire nation and industry to put a man on the moon. So big visions get more attention. And I think they gotta actually see it. They see it in their mind, like Disney. Story about Disney. Everybody saw Swampland. He saw Disney World before it was built. And there's a famous quote of someone saying, "Oh, it's too bad Walt wasn't here to see this." And the guy said, "Oh, he saw it. He saw it clearly before it was built."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next step you said is just do it, or some paraphrase of that. And in our intellectual theory about entrepreneurship, we call it action.
Yeah.
But it's action rather than strategy. You do things, you see what happens, you see if it moves you towards your vision, you make adjustments. Is that basically right?
Yep. There's a thing you can look up. I'm sure the OODA loop, OODA loop.
Yeah,
my
we know
Boyd,
it.
right? That's textbook. Observe and act. You got to actually do things to get feedback, to adapt and keep and defeat your enemy. In his case, Mr. Boyd, the pilot.
Yeah,
But
John Boyd.
if taking action and being open to all feedback as entrepreneurs sometimes is tough because we got our own vision. What if the MVP doesn't work? Great. Now you've learned what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
What's next? Listen to your customers, right? So Steve Jobs wasn't like that. He had his own vision. He didn't care what people said, and he was right. Most people aren't that. They need some feedback.
So is the first O, orientation, is that broadly equated to vision?
No, I think vision's, probably it's more of a vision would be like a mindset on the OODA loop, where it's like, hey, I've got this concept that I have a belief system, and I can see the future. But to actualize the future, you need to have that, observe, orient, decide, act. Yeah.
Because these visionaries, these leaders are so, I guess, charismatic, you might say, with the vision.
Yeah.
Does that get them better employees? Do they build better teams? All of those kinds of paradigms of business?
I've been studying personalities in psychology my whole life, and I'm always fascinated by jerks who do well versus people like me. I'm a nice person. I do all things improperly in building a business. They're supposed to say, hire slow and fire fast. Most entrepreneurs do it backwards. They hire fast and fire slow. Done that plenty of times. But the being a leader of a vision sometimes requires charisma. But if you don't have it, but you've got conviction, if you're a quiet person, but you're convicted, it still works. The best salespeople are not extroverts. In my opinion, the best salespeople are introverts who listen really well. And if you listen well and you give somebody attention, you're building a friendship and relationship there. And that works for sales. It works for hiring. It works for bringing in investors, right? You're going to listen carefully, and you're going to speak with intention to what's important to that person.
Yeah, if you read the histories of Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, they can be jerks.
Oh, yeah. Jobs. I mean, I listened to his book all the way driving from Chicago to California, his autobiography. And not a nice person, but total visionary. Musk, visionary. You can't deny them the vision. The personalities that get there, there's all types of CEOs. There's nice ones. There's encouraging ones. There's guys that walk the shop floor and guys who've never been there. It all works. So I don't think there's a template for that. The template on the executing your vision has to be, leading others to become other leaders. That's the biggest thing. You can't do it alone.
And so one of the things they say about people like Jobs and Musk is they demand excellence of others. They really drive them hard. They can be nasty, yelling, pushing, but they're demanding excellence for the people who work for them. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, and that personality works, demanding it. Personally, I'm more of an encourager, and when I empower my employees with something, like just recently, I had a overseas worker doing a lot of our production work, and I she's slowly bringing her on board to talking to clients. And today I said, go make a sale, go a little small thing here. And I gave her a little script, and she did just fine. So you can yell at people to perform, or you can encourage them, and both of them work. But I'm old school, and Grandma said you catch more bees with honey than vinegar. So I prefer that method, but I'm sure both work.
The other element that often is talked about, especially today, is that these leaders don't encourage bureaucracy. They like to deal directly with the people who are doing the work, with the engineers or the salespeople, whoever it may be. They're not bureaucrats. They're not trying to control. They're not building big structures. They're just trying to get things done, as you say. Does that ring true to you?
Yeah, the biggest challenge with people who've gone from 0 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9 figures is that it's not the same person. It can never be a person who's a starter who can now run a billion-dollar multinational. It just doesn't happen unless that person changes dramatically, learns a new mindset, or hires really, really well. Because the old saying, "What got you there won't get you. What got you here won't take you there." So in that journey of an entrepreneur, and few people have done it, but the bulk of us, I certainly would never be able to run and manage HR and C-suite CFO stuff and compliance and bookkeeping. Oh my gosh. I will definitely be hiring a president, to run that kind of stuff, right? So it goes back to the person's personality. And I think that most founders, they're visionaries, they're good sales marketing people. They can do that stuff, but the left brain building and structure and SOPs and all that stuff, they got to have other people doing that.
Yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, we have a lot of thinking that can be cut out these days. But we have a term that I'll run by you, Doug, which is venture mode. You can't always be in founder mode because, as you say, it gets too big or it gets beyond the founder. But you can be in venture mode, where everything is innovation, everything is creating new value. You keep away from the bureaucracy. So we're trying to establish that idea of venture mode. Does that sound right?
Yeah, there's a few companies I've studied where there's a flat organization and they're doing big numbers, and they've removed the hierarchy structure because they know that, like, big corporations can't be as nimble as small ones for that reason, right? There's too many checkpoints along the way. One of my clients was a fractional CEO of a company that made valves for nuclear reactors. These are, when I talk a valve, you think like a thing on your faucet. Her valves were 5 stories tall. They're big things, right? And on the production line to build these monstrosities, it was like a 6-month turn to go from point A to out the door. Here's your valve for your nuclear reactor. And she's looking at this as a fractional or an interim CEO going, okay. Why is it taking 6 months to create this thing, get up the door? And she's looking at it and she's analyzing the returns. Part got put on there, didn't work, had to go back. And there was a lot of rework along the 6-month thing. They had one quality inspector on the whole line and it didn't work. So what did she do? She's like, shut the whole line down. What? It's going to cost us, hundreds of thousands of dollars a day. Shut it down. We're going to do something here. They shut the whole line down, and she trained every single worker to get their QA certification. Every factory worker is now a quality assurance inspector. So that 6-month turn compressed to like under 6 weeks to get it up there. So yeah, they got efficiency and understanding organizational structure and scaling. I've talked to several engineers who run 8-figure companies. You cannot have to be a sales guy. You could be a left brain thinker and build something, but you need a team to matter how you slice it up.
That's the theory of constraints, right? Yes. You find the constraint and you get rid of it, which is Elon Musk talks in that fashion too.
Yeah.
He calls it sleeping at the bottleneck.
Yeah.
You go find the bottle.
Yeah. Most founders know that term and look at it, but the smart ones realize usually they are the biggest constraint. I know that. Yeah.
So one of the things I heard you say is we should think of these businesses pretty much as unique visions, unique individuals with that vision. We can't be looking for best practices and standards and so on. Do you agree with that?
Yes and no. I think, and I go back and forth on this every couple of years in my own world, but best practices, it's kind of like you already kind of know what those are. You just need someone. You need to pay some consultant to remind you what you already know. I'm going to go back to vision and mindset, because if you're just focusing on shareholder value and how can I make the EBITDA better and all this, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But I believe that when you lead with vision, people follow that. It's exciting for them. You get people who are doing things that they wouldn't normally do for $1, but they'll do it for being part of something important and big. So I think the number one trait is going to still remain vision, but best practices and structure and all that stuff, it's already out there. You know what to do. It's kind of like what I say when people in the weight loss space. I said, I've got a book for you. Guaranteed lose weight. 100% guarantee. All you got to do is do these things in this big book, right? Like an empty book with 2 sentences on it, eat right and exercise. Right? If you know those 2 things, right? Well, I need more. The point is, if you don't believe it, if you don't have the mindset for it, all the structure and case studies and stuff in the world isn't going to work. You got to start with the foundation. What do you really believe?
One of the words we dislike here, Doug, is efficiency, because it seems like cost cutting and not focused on customer value and so on. You said that automation is great for efficiency, you should do it, but horrible for building relationships.
Absolutely right.
Dig into that for us, please.
Yeah, I learned it from my wife, actually, because people talk about growth and scale quite a bit. We published plenty of books on these 2 topics, and they are separate. And the summary that I got from her was, and because she's had done some business development for some Fortune 100 companies, she said you got to first be effective before you can be efficient. So automation is great, but I see so many people leaning into this AI disruption that we're all experiencing and replacing some of the human interactions that got them there, or that people really craving. I love automation. I'm working on a bunch of them every single week. I love it to death. But if you start replacing some of the touch points that we as human beings really need with some automation, we don't like it. When was the last time you enjoyed going through a phone tree and being on hold and saying, press 1 for this, press 6 for that? And I don't know about you, but I'm like, can I talk to you, human being? That's what I want. But the efficiency of phone tree and voicemail and AI chatbots saves the company money. But I'm telling you that, when Zappos came out, what did they do? They put their 800 number on every single web page. That cost them money. But did it cost them a lot of money? I don't know. They sold to Amazon for almost $1 billion. I think they did okay. So I think staying in touch and communicating with your client is never go out of style. Don't replace any touch points. Replace workflows that don't impact the relationship.
Do you find that your 9 and 10 figure visionary CEOs are good at that, thinking about relationships?
Yeah. The ones that are good. Matter of fact, one of them, he's brilliant, man. I mean, 12 years ago, he's working out of his apartment in a lawn chair, and his company's doing over 300 million now. He's very in touch with his customers and clients. He's on his own Instagram responding to some people, and he's very aware of the personal brand that he's built. And that's what we do. We focus on personal branding, and everyone needs it at some level, at some point. And it's even more important now as AI disrupts all of our lives. If you don't have a human connection and that personal brand to go along with your company, then you're just another company, a nameless, faceless entity that I can unsubscribe to with a click and not feel bad about it. But if the CEO or founder ever sent me a message like Gary Vaynerchuk did his first few years, he'd respond to every single email, several hundred a day, to build those relationships. It's what got him there.
Well, I want you to dig into that a little bit, Doug, because you advise people to build this personal brand, this personal image.
Yeah.
It can sound counterintuitive when you're trying to think about this 10-figure business. It's not something you should be focused on, right? It should be focused on your business. So
you can
tell us more.
You can do both, and you should do both. Going from 8 to 9 or 9 to 10 figures without a personal brand is great for an exit or for an M&A work or buying other companies. There's no problem with that. But I always go back to my clients because I'm talking to the founder. I'm like, okay, so what do you stand for? Why are you here? What do you want to do? I'll build a company. Okay, that's great. What else? What about when you're gone? What do you want people to say about you? Or are you prepared for the disruption that you cannot see? What do you mean? Like, I don't know. Did you know the pandemic is going to come? We've all been predicting recession. It hasn't come and probably will, but we've all see fiat money get threatened. We see a lot of things, but it's not the stuff that you see. It's the things you don't see that are going to get you. And as the AI just turns our deep fakes into like, I can't tell the difference now between some real and I can still tell most things was real or fake, but there's some really good ones now. They're like, oh, I can't even tell. The trust factor of digital technology is going to start declining. It used to be, if you don't have a website, you're nobody. Now it's like, if I don't see you in person, I'm not sure if I'm going to give you any money. It's like the rise of humanity must be a rising connection. So I think a personal brand is more important moving forward than it ever has been, because technology is replacing and augmenting and enhancing us so much. If we don't have that humanity piece in there, that personal brand of piece where, yeah, I'm a person. You can, I'd love to connect with you one-on-one or either through my company. I always say the fact that, even McDonald's has a clown. So a personal brand with a company, I think it's a really smart match for most people.
Yeah, we think about that through the lens of entrepreneurship, which you think is a very human activity.
Yeah.
And that AI, at least as we understand it, can't ever do the empathy and the creativity and the intuitiveness and so on of that kind of entrepreneurship. We need the two together, obviously, but do you agree with that?
Yes. I did a TEDx talk on this, actually. It's called The Power of Humanity in the Shadow of AI. And I relate a story about a trip I took, and you can look it up if you want to watch it. But
yeah,
mainly, I said, I love AI. I use it every day for workflows. I'm working on some AI agents for some things. I love it. But there's a few things that AI cannot do, and maybe one that it can never do. The things that it cannot do today, and it can't experience anything. It's just regurgitating bits and bytes and letters and words and phrases. It doesn't experience the heartache you felt, the triumph you achieved. It's just regurgitating the words of it. So there's always an expression, read between the lines. I can read AI generated content like most and go, oh yeah, AI generated that, because it sounds sophomoric or two-dimensional. So it can't have experience right now today. It can never have heart and soul, right? I mean, that's not going to happen unless you start treating it like that. It could come someday, I suppose. And then it's the one thing I'm adamant about today in today's world is people using AI quite a bit, use it for content and publishing it. And I remind them that, AI is not responsible either. That was the key to my talk. It's like, AI is great for a lot of things. It's going to disrupt, help us, serve us, eliminate some jobs, create new ones, but it's not responsible. You are. Has no heart and soul. You do. Has no experience. So as you grow your business, use AI, but don't let AI use you. Retain your humanity.
Yeah, that's great insight. We'll link to your TEDx talk.
Thanks.
We're delighted to announce the Value Creators online course. For entrepreneurs in every kind of business, big, small, or medium, at every stage, in every industry, our course provides the foundations and principles on which to build success. Simple, clear purpose and principles give rise to creativity, innovation, and competitively superior business action. There are 11 foundational principles or mental models that together cohere into the value business model. Principles for value generation, principles for value operations, principles for value finance and accounting, and principles for value sustainability, as well as the new knowledge accumulation you'll need for continuous innovation. These principles are delivered by top business professors from top business schools: Mark Packard, Per Byland, Gordon Miller, David Rapp, and Bart Vanderhagen. You'll find video lessons from them, along with downloadable tools, processes, and other valuable content. Master these lessons, and you'll master the most important skill in business: value creation. Go to thevaluecreators.com and click the course link. So you have published some what you call growth equations, and I'd like to have you explain those and maybe help people think about how they can apply them.
Sure.
The first one, I'm going to quote the words. I'm not sure I'll say it right, but scarcity times social proof equals FOMO.
Yep.
So tell us about that.
Scarcity times social proof. Well, if you just have scarcity by itself, hey, I've only got 5 of these left. I got a Hermes bag. It's worth $250,000 or, whatever it is, $40,000, but there's not many there. Scarcity. Okay. Fear of missing out. I want to get one. But if it's not true, no proof of that, people can smell false scarcity. So scarcity without proof, people are skeptical, and you're just trying to hoodwink them and persuade them to buy your stuff. So you can use scarcity in your business and your offer, but if it's false scarcity, you're going to lose. So that's why it's scarcity times the social proof equals fear of missing out. Yeah, I can definitely want to get that thing because it's closing. There's only so many left. So it works great for physical products or time-based labor, things like that. But if you've got a digital product and you're saying it's only 10 left, you're lying and people know it.
How do you get the social proof for a new innovation that's new to the market?
It's called MVP and beta users, man. You got to just be willing to put yourself out there and get people to say, hey, try this thing out. Give me some feedback on it. I've worked with a lot of SaaS people, and a lot of them love what they're building. I'm like, well, have you tested it? Do people actually, they say they do. I'm like, yeah, are they using it? And do you have feedback? Because without that, are you even solving a problem that they've addressed, right? A lot of people make things that isn't even for a real problem. So yeah, when there's interaction there from your community, that's usually going to give you a lot of data.
And is the concept of lead users or early adopters in that scenario that's still applicable these days?
Yeah, I think so. There's some things that are changing in that space in terms of the moat that used to be around IP. It used to be a big moat around IP, copyrights, trademarks, software, code, all those things. That's kind of going away. It's like, well, I can, you're not going to pay me $80,000 for this enterprise software. I'll go build it myself. I can do it for a couple grand, So the moat is really more about distribution relationships you have than any tech or IP. It's a scary thing, but you just got to be able to see what's coming and go, well, that moat around my app isn't so strong anymore because people can copy it quickly and AI can go and replicate things before you even know it.
So your second equation gets to branding. So branding plus cross-training equals incremental sales.
Yes, right. So a lot of organizations I've worked with, they got their branding department, marketing and sales. But when I say, cross-pollinate it, does the factory floor worker know your mission? Do they understand that when they go to a party that night on a potluck in the community, that the words out of their mouth reflect upon the company? Even if they don't mention the company, they know you work at Boeing, my neck of the woods. So I'm a big fan of really letting everybody in your organization know who you are as a company, your mission statement, what you stand for, and give them training for that. The best example I have is probably Chick-fil-A, right? They've got the most amazing training, whatever it is, for those kids who are serving you. And they are all gracious, polite. I mean, I want to go there just to say hi to them sometimes, and the food's great. But when you have your entire organization, not just your branding and marketing and salespeople, but everybody is a salesperson. They just don't know it. So incremental sales come from things like that. The brand value of having people talk about you who are not your customers is exponential. And you don't know who's saying, if you've got a brand story, right? Hey, this is my brand story. This is who we are, what we represent. Everyone should know that brand story and be able to not just have to talk about it, but perhaps live it and be a good representation of the company. So it's I'm not trying to, constrain people to say you're only a Nike person. No, but when you are out there and people know what you do, who you work with or work for, you better represent them properly because it does shine or reflect back upon the company.
Yeah, I think there's a really deep insight there, Doug, and thanks for it. Your definition of branding is what people think about you and say about you, whether they're customers or not.
Exactly.
And that puts the focus of control into the marketplace, into the customer and the non-customer.
Mm-hmm.
It's not inside. I'm not doing branding.
Yeah.
It's out there, and I've got to be sensitive to it and help it along.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had McDonald's burgers in years, but I have a brand opinion about them.
Mm-hmm.
Who created that opinion?
Well, you did, presumably, right? When you went to
Well,
McDonald's in the
no,
past.
they put things in my brain and my belly that I have an opinion. So you creating a brand experience with customers and non-customers, and guess what? There's a lot more non-customers and customers who know about you when you're good size, who are talking about you. So you might be able to handle it, but you can position it properly and be aware of it. So it's a lot going on at that level. You got to be aware of it and lead it as best you can. And the best way that does that is internally. How can you get your, go to Disney Park, go to Chick-fil-A. You see how that culture permeates. You and I talking about it. I'm not an employee of those companies. Here we are edifying them. I am.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree with that, but also only the customer can have the experience, to use that important word, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They have the experience, so they create that image. Yes, you've positioned it. Hopefully you're listening.
Yeah.
But the experience belongs to the customer, and they communicate that.
That's why the CSRs that I've talked to and worked with before, they get very little training on the mission. They get trained on the phone, the call sheet, the responses. But if you don't make them advocates for your company, those customer experiences, you can monitor calls, you can see what's going on with the customer, and there's feedback loops and all that stuff. But it goes way beyond that. So I think it's important to treat your employees like partners sometimes. I think it probably is going to serve you better than not.
Yeah, we try to capture that in a concept called knowledge flow. If you know what the brand is and the image you're trying to create, does that flow everywhere in the company?
Yeah, right.
And you can use the theory of constraints.
Customers talk about you, and there's data on this that they'll if you have a bad experience, you're 6 times more likely to talk about that than the good experience. So and I read some statistics somewhere. My gosh, what was it, Hunter? It was a person who is very deep into the CSX industry of customer experience and surveys, right? All these surveys that people do for, hey, how was your service today? And you fill out this form and you answer it. They told me that like upwards of 80% of those are never read by upper management. Never. Like all that energy and resources put out there to get those important, because I sometimes fill them out and I'll say, hey, I like this, but you should have done this. I guarantee hardly anybody reads that. And then that's a wasted opportunity to really shine, I think.
Yeah. Or it's distilled into an average where the nuance is lost.
Yeah.
So your third equation is not really an equation, but it highlights brand stories and storytelling. Now, we hear that word. I'm not sure whether it conveys anything really tight to us. So tell us your thinking about storytelling.
I've worked with a lot of people who've raised capital. I've been a judge in a pitch competition. I've listened to a lot of people speak about their business and their vision and whatnot. And 100% of the time, a really powerful story gets your attention. I mean, stories predate language. It's in our DNA for stories, right? They're cave drawings before their language. Here's what's happening in the hunt. And if you have a compelling story that's structured to make some emotional tug on my heart, happy, laugh, sad, excited, scared, whatever it is, and there's a point to the story, like, whoa, here's the point. And for the rest of the story, right, there's a point to it. That's going to be retained by the person so much longer than data. There's so many, you can look this up. I mean, stories sell, right? I mean, emotion is what works. So if you have a good brand story, it gets shared, right? How many of us know the story of Steve Jobs or Elon or Ray Kroc, for example? They made a movie about it, right? Did they talk about the number of burgers or the TAM and distribution of money? No, they talked about the origin story and how compelling that was, because we see ourselves, wow, if he could do that, maybe I can, right? So stories are vital. If without a brand story, you're just a commodity. I don't care what you're selling.
Do you have any insights you can share about how to make a story more compelling versus?
Yes, that's what I do all day long. You have to give me some context, but gosh, I'll give you one little quick one. I was doing a presentation with 16 CEOs at a Vistage community. And one of the things that we do is I bring one person up on stage and I interview them. And while I'm interviewing them, my team is on Zoom behind the scenes and they're crafting things for him while I'm interviewing him. And so we're talking, and this gentleman is a CFO at SMB. And he's doing like, 15 million a year. I forgot what it was, but it's a small company. And he's telling a story about being a CFO. Now, my company does ghostwriting and publishing and storytelling for people, mainly for founders. This guy's not a founder, he's a CFO. And I'm like, dang, he has no origin story. Where am I going to go with this? My team is in the background waiting to produce a book cover that we pop up on the screen and create a website for him. And we show these assets and people get blown away by seeing what we can do in an hour from this interview. So I'm interviewing this cat, struggling for about 10, 15 minutes, trying to get something out of him. Like, oh my gosh, this is so boring. It shouldn't be a book. And then I asked him a question about his values and his personal life. And he lit up because he's a left brain numbers guy. All of a sudden I asked him about his life. He tells me a story about his son and how his son used to be outgoing and charismatic. And he would raise his son and say, no, don't do that. Don't do that. No, no, no. And after a couple of years, this little 6-year-old who used to be outgoing and gregarious became introverted and a recluse. And he's like, I wonder what happened to my son. I think it was me, he said. I was telling him what not to do. So he changed his vocabulary. He said, instead of telling him no, I asked him a question, use some NLP, right? Hey, is this the way a good person acts? Made the kid think. At 6, made the kid think, not really, Dad, And within like months, the original personality of this child reverted to its original state, which was outgoing, charismatic kid. He tells that story. Half the audience is in tears, number one. And so now I got something. I've got a story now. I'm like, all right, here's what we're going to do. My team is going to create this book. And it's not going to be about being a CFO and numbers. It's going to be about how your values are who you are and how you pull, because the man and the mission are not separate. You cannot have one or the other, right? They're together. So as we're going to talk, this book title, I forgot what it was now, but it was about his values and how he brings his values of his personal values and belief systems and even his spirituality into his company. And that's why they're successful, because they don't say no. They don't, they have a high integrity, and he brings these values from his family life into his business. Now imagine reading that book. If you're going to hire a CFO, I'm like, that's the guy I want to hire. I want to hire a guy who's not going to scam me or not going to focus just on making money. He's got a family, and it matters to me. It's emotional. So yeah, brand story is vital, and crafting it takes some really good questioning. You've got to really dig deep into not the heart and soul of the person. This is the one thing people miss. You have to dig into the heart and soul of who you're talking to first. Most people say, I look at me. No. Focus on your customer's customer. If you can figure that out well, you'll never have to work a day in your life.
And that's the essence of entrepreneurship, right? It's who you are. Yeah. You can't necessarily teach it.
No. What do you stand for? What do you stand against? Yeah, right.
You recognize that in people, Doug? Your CFO maybe didn't exhibit it, but you drew it out of him. Did you recognize it?
I had to ask. I didn't see it there. I was sweating bullets the first 10 minutes, and then I just had to. I'm a good interviewer like you, right? So I was able to keep asking questions, find out where am I going to go here. And I finally found the spark, and that's what it was. But I've never not been able to do that. We've always had people come, oh, my story's no good, and I don't know. And let me talk to you a little bit. And I start talking to them. Oh my gosh, this should definitely be a book. Or no, that's not it. Let's keep trying. And I'm always keeping the reader in mind. And that's the biggest difference between people who write their own book and people who hire a professional company like us that has journalists, ghostwriters, editors. we ask questions that the reader wants to know. And we have a lot of writing and publishing experience. So I know what works. What's a page turner? I mean, a page turner on a fiction book is easy, you know. There's death, there's escaping. But there I was in a boardroom, you know, signing a contract. It's kind of dull. So we have to not just dramatize it. We have to build tension into the meaning behind that, or the values, or what's going on, to make it a story. Yeah.
So a lot of your theme today and throughout your work, Doug, sounds like it's humanity, being human, and relating that to business.
Yeah, it's important to me because I love technology, but I read the same things you do. I'm like, oh, some people are nervous about this stuff, and I've watched plenty of science fiction movies, so I was concerned about that. I talked to the chief data scientist at IBM a couple of years ago about this, and he said, "Don't worry about it, Doug. There's 200,000 job descriptions we don't even know how to write yet." So I believe that there's going to be disruption, but there's going to be a lot more opportunity as well. We have to embrace that. And I'm a fan, but if you don't temper it with humanity, you're going to become a victim. So,
well, let's leave it there. Thanks so much for your insights today, Doug.
pleasure.
We'll link to your TEDx talk.
Thank you.
How else would you like people to find you?
You know, I'm pretty approachable. Doug@dougcrowe.com is my email. You can send me an email and just put, Hunter Hastings in the subject line so I know that's coming from. My website is authoryourbrand.com, where we help founders and CEOs publish their best-selling book and guarantee them a 10,000 person distribution within a year or so of their publishing.
It's quite a promise.
Thanks.
Well, thanks, Doug. We'll talk again soon, I hope.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
This has been another episode of the Value Creators Podcast. Thanks for listening. You can visit thevaluecreators.com for links and resources related to this episode. And check hunterhastings.com for more content on entrepreneurial business management based on value creation principles.